Start with contracting sprites. Chapter 136, Whaleport Town. At the end of June, the admission results of the various Sprite universities were already out. 3 days later, a Sprite, Mission Bird, delivered Su Hao's admission notice. Lu Ren and the others were similar. The admission notices for Chen Qi and the others didn't arrive that early, but each of their admission results were satisfactory for them. It was said that the final score of Tianese University was a little higher than estimated, but fortunately, Chen Qi still scored sufficient enough. As for Zhou Yu's and Maruime, it was even more secure on their end. They gathered again, then prepared to go their separate ways. From Lu Ren, Su Hao also learned about City First High's results this year. A total of 21 people got into a key Sprite university. There were also 2 other students from the previous First High batch, so a total of 23 people. It far exceeded City's previous grades. But it had little to do with Su Hao. He just left his name here. At the beginning of July, he was ready to set off. Lu Ren said with a long face that he had been abandoned, and Su Hao didn't attend the gathering of the 4 little heavenly kings of City. And it more clear-cut. The title 4 Little Heavenly Kings was proposed by the clueless Lu Ren. But he didn't expect Li Songting's approval. At first, Gu Linjiao wasn't used to it, but later on, she felt that it was pretty good too. It was a dream, to work hard towards becoming a heavenly king. What if it came true? Thus, she also joined the private group chat of the 4 Little Heavenly Kings of City and was assimilated into a narcissistic girl. Su Hao expressed his despair. He could only be added in. He was even promoted the group leader. He kept feeling that it was getting more and more dangerous. Su Hao refreshed the 4 Little Heavenly Kings private group chat. Well, there were 5 members inside. Serious and hard-working Su Xiao Hao. Middle-class rich Lu Pangren. Hot-blooded youth Li Songting. Gu Linjiao, who certainly does not have a poor sense of direction. And Xiao Dai, the cutest butterfly in the whole arena. Gurgle. Reverie Butterfly hugged its phone and secretly gave him a look. I didn't expect this sprite trainer to actually be peeking at the screen. How sinister, Gurgle. Dad, Mom, don't send me off. At the entrance of the high-speed rail station, large and small bags hung on the back of the water unicorn beast. Su Hao waved goodbye to his parents. Both Father Su and Mother Su were very reluctant for him to leave. They couldn't bear to part with Reverie Butterfly. They were even more reluctant to part with Su Hao. It was different from before. In the past, he left for a few days, half a month, or at most more than a month. However, Sprite universities were strictly managed. Once he left, he would only be able to return during the winter break next year at the earliest. Their son had become sensible. He had made a name for himself. They were proud. But they were also worried. They didn't know whether it was dangerous for their child to take the path of sprite trainers. They could only support it. Thousands of words turned into one sentence. Be careful, call me when you get there. They took the high-speed rail to Tianese province. Then, they took a special channel plane from the Tianese Cloud Airport to Whale Island University. Most sprites could take the high-speed rail. But not airplanes. Only a small number of special planes sold sprite tickets. There were only flights to Whale Island University in the provincial capital. Hello, please show me your sprite trainer ID. Su Hao took out his sprite trainer certificate. The worker scanned it. Beep, high-level sprite trainer. Below was Su Hao's contract and the sprite information recorded in the file. 1, 2, 3. All matched. The staff let them in. Hello, please take our special passage for sprite trainers. Let's go. Su Hao called for the flaming cloud crow, which was in a daze. And the water unicorn beast carrying its luggage. He walked forward while carrying a reverie butterfly. The checks for boarding were very strict because there was once an accident that caused the plane to crash because of Sprites. Nowadays, when bringing Sprites out, they usually only took the high-speed rail. Either that, or one would travel alone, then summon his Sprite when he reached his destination. Su Hao had also thought of using summon. They could also save 3 expensive Sprite tickets. But Whale Island University was too far away from Tianese province. Summoning a Sprite would pretty much drain him dry. Everyone, please fasten your seat belts, put away the small table, pull up the window shades, straighten the backs of the chairs. Sprite trainers, please help your Sprite tighten their safety cages and soothe their emotions. Su Hao sat in his seat. On both sides were safety cages to fix Sprites down, mainly to prevent Sprites from causing accidents on the plane. This wasn't the first time the little guys had taken a plane. There wasn't any nervousness or panic. Neither did Su Hao. All 3 Sprites could fly, and one of them was even a mount. He couldn't even die from a plane crash. Cough, he felt that he shouldn't think about the bad things. Both Reverie Butterfly and Flaming Cloud Crow buttoned their safety cages. Su Hao buckled the water unicorn beast, who did not have any hands. A moment later, his body leaned back involuntarily, and with the push from the back of the seat, the plane took off. Su Hao looked at his surroundings. The entire plane was divided into the Sprite commandeering cabin, business class cabin, and economy class cabin. He was in the Sprite commandeering cabin, which was much wider than the first class cabin of an ordinary plane. It had to be wide. What if the Sprite couldn't stay still? There weren't many passengers in the Sprite commandeering cabin. Su Hao only saw a middle-aged man on the right side with a Sprite 6-winged flying silkworm. It was kind of the same species as the little rascal. The 2 Sprites gurgled. The middle-aged man smiled. A new student from Whale Island University this year. Su Hao nodded. But logically speaking, he had 3 whole Sprites. Wasn't it more reasonable for him to have been assumed to be a second-year student? The middle-aged man noticed his confusion. He said, the older students of Whale Island wouldn't bring their Sprites with them even if they went home. Usually, they would only bring one with them, while the others would stay in school to cultivate. Besides, it's only been a short holiday. You can only apply for admission at Whale Island University on the 15th. Before you enroll, you don't have credits, so most can only wait and watch. However, the environment and facilities on Whale Island are all pretty good, so you won't be bored there. Uncle, you are? Su Hao asked. Me? I'm just an ordinary little boss who's making a living on Whale Island. He introduced to Su Hao. Whale Island University isn't open to the public, including the parents of students. But outside the university, there's a whale port town on Whale Island. I'm just doing a small business there. I opened a few small supermarkets to sell some daily necessities for college students like you. As the middle-aged man spoke, he took out a membership card. It could offer a 20% discount. He was very passionate. Su Hao couldn't reject it, so he could only accept it. The middle-aged man's words, in addition to the fragments of information he found on the internet, gave Su Hao a faint idea of Whale Island University. Who? At Whaleport Town's airport, when Su Hao got off the plane's ladder, he felt the difference in his surroundings. It seemed like the air was fresher, and the sky was even bluer. It felt vaguely familiar. Gurgle. The Reverie Butterfly called out. He understood. It's spiritual force. The spiritual force on the island can actually match that of the New World. Whale Island was shaped like a huge whale. Whale Harbor Town was located at the head of the whale. The airport was not too big. There were only a few flights every day. Many supplies were transported by freight. Su Hao originally thought that Whale Harbor Town should be a small town with a harbor as its name suggested. With a group of people who depended on Whale Island University for a living. However, when he walked out of the airport, what entered his eyes were buildings standing tall before him. Neat trees were planted by the streets, red and green flowers and plants decorated them. The huge LED screen on the commercial building flashed, showing the battle between two elite-level sprites. At Whaleport Town's Battle Hall. On the neatly planned road, cars drove past occasionally. Sprite trainers rode their mounts, and sprites could be seen everywhere. Rather than calling it a small town, it wasn't to say that it was a modern city completely integrated with sprites. Su Hao walked along. He suddenly noticed a supermarket. It occupied a space of 3 floors and was very large. There were many restaurants around, forming a shopping district. The supermarket was called Yuan Shopping. Su Hao took out the membership card from his pocket and looked at the name on it. He stayed silent for a moment. You call this a small supermarket? Chapter 137, Entering School. Whaleport Town was too prosperous. But Su Hao remembered that there was still a long way to go, so he wasn't in a hurry to understand it. Go through the admission procedures first and put your luggage away. Then, he took a look at the training facilities and venue of Whale Island University and arranged the tasks of the 3 sprites. It wouldn't be good if he took his time shopping then. After sitting on a public bus for nearly an hour, they finally arrived at the campus gate of Whale Island University from the airport. It convinced Su Hao. Whaleport Town was really big. The gate of Whale Island University was also very big. Su Hao looked over. In front of the school gate, on the left, stood a huge stone tablet. It was as tall as 8 to 9 floors, and on it were engraved the words Whale Island University. The whole school gate was arched and about dozens of meters wide, enough for 10 lava dragon turtles to walk through side by side. On both sides of the school gate were trees that were as tall as 3 to 4 floors. It was lush and lush, surrounding the whole school. But there were no fences or walls. Su Hao pondered. Since Whale Island University didn't allow outsiders to enter, why wasn't it completely sealed off? It seemed like it could pass through the woods on both sides and sneak into the campus. It wasn't until Reverie Butterfly made a gurgle that he noticed that faint light screens could be vaguely seen on the 2 sides of the school gate. What kind of technology is this? Su Hao shook his head and didn't think about it. He walked forward. The surroundings were empty. There was only a table in front of the flower bed, and 2 sprites sat around it. An elephant general and a golden armored overlord. Su Hao had already seen a lot of elephant general. Its iconic stone warhammer stood upright on the ground, but it actually didn't fall. Golden armored overlord was the evolved form of golden armored strongman, metal element. Like General Elephant, it was a human-shaped sprite that stood upright. Its head was sharp and long, like a triangle. Its eyes were narrow, and the golden scales on its body were arranged neatly layer by layer, as if it was wearing a thick golden armor. Its appearance alone was even more impressive and domineering than General Xiang. The golden armor overlord's weapon was a broadsword nearly 2 meters long, dark golden in color. The handle of the saber was facing the ground, standing still like a stone hammer. Of course. Whether it was the dark golden saber or the stone warhammer, they were essentially an extension of the 2 sprites' bodies. Therefore, it wasn't strange at all to leave them there. What the hell? On the table in front of the elephant general and the golden armor overlord was a set of Chinese chess pieces. Compared to the size of the 2 sprites, this Zionki seemed a little small. Therefore, when they placed the chess pieces, it was a little difficult. If they weren't careful, they would bump into other pieces. Moo moo. General Elephant pressed down on the golden armor overlord's hand. How dare you cheat? The golden armored overlord's eyes flickered. I'm not, don't talk nonsense. Su Hao was stunned. He had thought that it was difficult for them to place the chess pieces, but who knew that it was actually for cheating? The sprites in universities had deep schemes. Reverie Butterfly seemed to have learned something. But it looked at its little hand and fell into deep thought again. In front of the school gate, Su Hao couldn't find the security booth. He didn't see any other students, and his gaze returned to the two gateway sprites. He poked the Reverie Butterfly on his head. Reverie Butterfly asked them, "Gurgle, gurgle." The Golden Armor Overlord, which had failed to cheat, stood up with a bang. Its huge body blocked the sunlight and became a shadow that projected down. It called. The sound was sharp, a little like sobbing. Su Hao was rendered speechless. If he didn't say anything, the Golden Armored Overlord would definitely be a domineering older brother. Unfortunately, it wasn't a mute. The two sprites communicated for a while. Su Hao understood. He took out the admission notice and the recommendation letter from Summer King from his backpack. The Golden Armor Overlord glanced at it twice, then waved its hand and let it pass. Whale Island University's campus covered an extremely large area. How big was it? It wasn't written on the official website. However, Whaleport Town only occupied a small part of the entire island, and the rest were university campuses. From this, one could imagine how big Whale Island University was. Fortunately, Su Hao didn't walk for long before he saw a few school buses parked by the roadside. They looked a little similar to the sightseeing cars in the park. It read drivingless, voice or manual choice destination. After he sat on it, he tried to press on the screen. He didn't know the way, but Su Hao still knew that he had to go to the student management office first. After selecting the destination, the school bus slowly drove along the wide road accompanied by a voice that was neither male nor female. "The bus is about to start, please sit tight." 10 minutes later, they arrived at their destination. Along the way, Su Hao actually only saw 2 people and 3 sprites. It was as empty as a ghost town. When they arrived at the student administration office, there were more buildings nearby. Su Hao looked at the notice on it and walked in. In the hall of the administration office, probably because it was the holidays, there was only one teacher sitting in front of the computer at this time. But there was another student in the hall. There were 3 sprites beside him. A giant tide frog, the evolved form of the blue water frog, was about the size of a water jar. Its mouth puffed up. The final form of an iron-tailed prawn, the evolved form of a small river lobster, was a giant cannon lobster, slightly smaller than a giant tide frog. Its metallic tail tapped on the floor of the hall, producing cracking sounds. The teacher from the administration office glared at the student and said, "If it's damaged, you'll get deducted from your credits." So the student hurriedly glared at the iron-tailed prawns again. This was the first time Su Hao had seen the last sprite in real life. It was an ice 6 tails. It was the size of a domestic cat, with a slim body and short ice blue hair. Its 6 tails floated like ribbons, with crystal-like icicles at the ends. Elegant and noble. Su Hao's eyes stayed on ice 6 tails for a long time. Gurgle. Then, it was knocked on by Reverie Butterfly. After the student in front completed the procedures, Su Hao walked forward. "Hello, teacher. I'm a new student this year." He took out the admission notice and recommendation letter. The female teacher checked it, put the recommendation letter into the drawer below, and started to settle the admission procedures for him. As she spoke, she said, "At this time, it's not yet time for the school to arrange for you to enroll in the school. I can't apply for an official student card for you." She took out a card. "This is a temporary student card. There are 100 credits gifted by new students in it. Because it's not official, it's very troublesome to get the data back if you lose it, so, remember not to lose it." The most important thing in Sprite universities was the credits system. Every school was similar. 1 credits could be exchanged for 10,000 Dragon Nation dollars. But, cash cannot be exchanged for credits. In the school, common resources such as elemental essences and jade powder could be bought with ordinary currency. Precious ones could only be exchanged with credits. Whale Island University's credits were also more valuable than ordinary Sprite universities. The reason was very simple. Whale Island University had a lot of high-value items, far more than ordinary Sprite universities. These items not only had the support of Dragon Nation, but also a lot of them. They were obtained by teachers and students from the school in the New World. It was sold to the school, forming a good resource cycle. 100 credits represented countless resources. Whale Island University's gift right at the start could be said to be very rich and imposing. But neither Suhao nor that unknown student showed much emotion on their faces. The teacher from the administration office wasn't surprised. Those who could get recommendation letters and enroll in school in advance couldn't be that poor. But she still warned, all you have is a temporary credit card. Before school starts, you don't have any way to get credits, so I suggest you use it sparingly. It's best if it's used to buy various facilities and training venues. Those don't require much credits, enough for you to use for the start of school. Then, teacher, how are we going to get credits after school starts? He was asking about the boy in white next to him. The teacher thought about it. You can get credits for both the curriculum assessment and the mission, but to you, there's still a chance to get a large amount of credits. That is the challenge segment every year for new students. Chapter 138, He's on Whale Island, just arrived at the restaurant. Challenge segment. That's right, she said. The curriculum assessment is the main way for ordinary students to get credits. And the mission has many rich rewards, but the difficulty is also high. You will only be able to accept high-level missions when you are in your second or third year. The challenge segment for new students is the opportunity for you to earn a lot of credits. The female teacher paused. You should know that in Sprite universities, only outstanding students can get the favor of their teachers and become their students. With the coach personally leading the way, the difference is obvious even without me saying. But how do instructors choose students to understand your past? Don't joke around, the teachers in the school are all busy people. Even if all of you are city top scorers and provincial top scorers, you are just ordinary students here. No one will know who you are. So, if you want to get the favor of a teacher, you have to show your strength. The challenge segment is your chance. The better your performance is, the more teachers will take a fancy to you, and you'll have more choice. At the same time, you'll get more credits. When the boy in white heard this, he was already gradually excited. Just as the teacher had said, wasn't this segment just a chance for the proud sons of heaven to show off? Cough, to show off? If he could stand out, he might have a chance to get the favor of a heavenly king-level sprite trainer and become a student of TA. Bai Hongzhen was from a sprite trainer family, so his understanding of Whale Island University was much more than ordinary people. At Whale Island University, only heavenly king-level big shots could get a professorship title. Other master-level sprite trainers were categorized into 1, 2, and 3 levels, according to their teaching abilities and abilities. His heart was clear. With his level, it wasn't difficult for him to be chosen by a level 1 teacher. Level 1 instructors were all experts among masters, and could even be called quasi-heaven kings. But there was still an uncrossable gap between him and a heavenly king. The school stipulated that 1, 2, and 3 level teachers must lead a certain number of students every year. But a heavenly king tier powerhouse depended entirely on their mood. Bai Hongzhen had once heard that at the start of a school term, not a single heavenly king appeared. That was really tragic. No matter how well he performed, it was all for naught. But usually, 2 to 3 professors showed up. It was another matter whether they accepted students or not. He had only heard rumors. His understanding was limited, and he didn't know if the rules had changed this year. He asked, then, "Teacher, what is the specific stage of the challenge?" "It's very simple." The female teacher said, "In a special battle area, all confident people can arrange their sprites to go on the field. It's not just one, but how many you contract can go on the field. There are no other restrictions. It doesn't matter if you fight one-on-one or group battles." She paused here. "And the second level, your outstanding seniors will challenge you. Everything is up to you, as long as you showcase your excellence. The boy in white was even more excited when he heard that all sprites could go on stage. Then he had an advantage. Among those in the same batch as him, many had similar backgrounds, but there were only 2 sprites after all. There were too many contracts, and it was very easy to cause them to be unable to take care of everything. They would nurture one wholeheartedly, and when the sprites were more mature, they would nurture the next one. Most people did so. There were also those who wanted to use credits to exchange for contracting rare sprites after enrolling in the school. What he spent the most effort nurturing was only that Ice 6 Tails. The other 2 were often taken care of by the family's sprite cultivators. He communicated with them from time to time. It wasn't that he couldn't command them, but the chemistry between them was definitely a bit worse. He was confident that he was one of the strongest freshmen. But Bai Hongzhen glanced at Su Hao. There were also 3 entry levels. They were also people with backgrounds who could get recommendation letters and enroll in school earlier. He was a strong opponent. But as long as he made good use of the summer break to push Ice 6 Tails into the elite level, at that time, even defeating his second-year senior brothers and sisters might not be impossible. With a face full of confidence, he turned and left. He didn't see the pitiful look in the female teacher's eyes at all. Silly child, didn't you think about it? The school did give you a chance to challenge your seniors, but could it arrange for ordinary second-year students to be the challengers? Impossible. They were all the best students in their second year. The so-called challenge was just to let the proud children of heaven from all over Dragon Nation understand that there was always someone better out there. They just didn't want to be arrogant. These had always been Whale Island University's traditions. There was no need to mention the female teacher. After she recorded the information, she took out a map and pushed it over. Choose your own dormitory. The facilities are all the same, but you can choose as you wish when you come early. Su Hao picked it up and took a look. There were Ping Mountain Court, Lakeview Court, Forest Court, Centaurea Court and various other neighborhoods. At a glance, it looked like the layout of the neighborhood shown to customers by the sales office. Every neighborhood had signs such as 001, 002, and 003. But not the dormitory building. Those were all villas. There was a large garden. It only accommodated 1 student. Besides, Whale Island University didn't charge tuition and accommodation fees. Su Hao could only sigh. As expected of the highest-level educational institute in Dragon Nation. It was heroic enough, he liked it. Since the facilities in the villa were the same, Su Hao chose a seat that he liked better. Then, he took the room card from the female teacher and a thick new student enrollment manual before leaving the student management office. Beep, destination reached. Student, please alight. Su Hao arrived at Lakeview Park. He chose a villa by the lake. The beautiful scene that greeted his eyes alone made him stay where he was for a long time. He took out his cell phone and took a few pictures. On the lake that was glimmering. A villa in a Chinese style. The interior was exquisitely decorated. And so on and so forth. Su Hao took a total of 9 pictures. Then, he opened up his WeChat and uploaded them onto his moments. He's on Whale Island, just arrived at the dormitory. Before long, the ticketing circle exploded. All he saw was a row of what the F***ck. And you told me this is a dormitory? There was very little public information about Whale Island University, but information about ordinary Sprite universities could be found online. Sprite Stream students wouldn't live in the 4-person and 6-person living space after all, there were still Sprites. They were all single rooms. But most schools still provided ordinary dormitories. Those with large Sprites had to be stored downstairs. With this comparison, they were a little jealous of Whale Island University's exquisitely renovated villa and courtyard garden. Jealousy made them look detestable. Right at this moment, Lu Ren sent a reply. Are all university dormitories individual villas? It's similar to my house, all right. I'm just afraid that I won't be used to living in university. Su Hao was rendered speechless. Big Mouth Lu has really attracted a lot of hatred. Seeing a group of envious and jealous classmates turn to denounce Lu Ren, Su Hao gave him 3 seconds of silence before putting down his cell phone. They walked around the villa. It was well equipped. The living room, bedroom, and all kinds of furniture were available. Even the kitchen was equipped with corresponding kitchen utensils. There were also sheets and blankets. There were also unopened toothbrushes, toothpaste, and so on. They could move in with their bags anytime. Of course, he had to buy even more miscellaneous daily necessities himself. There were facilities in the villa that he didn't like, and he could change them. All these could be bought in Whale Harbor town outside the school. For example, the elemental shopping supermarket owned by the middle-aged man had furniture, daily necessities, clothes, food, and so on. There was even a training room in the villa. There were many relatively ordinary training facilities installed inside. Su Hao was very satisfied after reading it. At home, Sprites could also enjoy training. Gurgle. Reverie Butterfly widened its eyes and puffed up its face. Wasn't this term a little wrong? What did it mean by enjoying? Gurgle. After helping the water unicorn beast put away the luggage on its back, Su Hao sat on the sofa with his legs crossed and took out the thick enrollment manual. There was an introduction of the entire school's venue and facilities. Whale Island University was very big. It occupied an area no less than a first-tier city. But the range of students' daily lives wasn't that big. It was mainly in the dormitory area and the teaching area. The other areas were all special environments. They were fixed on this island of Whale Island and were very magical. It was possible that the area in front of him was the hot volcanic lava area. If he walked another 10 to 20 kilometers, it would become a snow-covered area covered in snow. It was completely normal in Whale Island University. Su Hao looked at them one by one. Chapter 139, The Development Direction of the Water Unicorn Beast. There are all kinds of evolution venues here. The effect is better than the New World. Those were only the most basic matching venues for Whale Island University. Su Hao schemed through the common areas of the 5 elements. He took a few more looks at the introduction of the lightning element sprite evolution field. It was a valley with a special magnetic field. Thunder rumbled continuously all year round. Su Hao looked at the photo of it. The scene was comparable to the celestial tribulation. The evolution venue of ghost element sprites was an abandoned town. On the surface, there didn't seem to be anything special, but in fact, it was a land of extreme yin. It was surrounded by rich yin energy and lifeless atmosphere. It was normal for ordinary people to go crazy after walking in it for a while. But abandoned towns were the favorite of ghost element sprites. It was as warm as home there. Not only could it allow for the completion of the evolution of ghost element sprites, from time to time, new ghost element sprites would also be born inside. As long as one spent a certain amount of credits, one could enter it to look for rare ghost element sprites to contract. Su Hao was indeed a little tempted. Ghost element sprites didn't have physical bodies. Firstly, it could fuse with his shadow to act as his bodyguard. Secondly, it could work with Reverie Butterfly. The little rascal constructed dreams, while the ghost element sprite could shuttle through the dreams, one inside and one outside, and they could be of great power together. But now is not the time to contract a new sprite. He looked at the 3 sprites. The current mission of Reverie Butterfly was to increase its various basic attributes, mainly mental strength. It wasn't too far from elite level. Flaming Cloud Crow was currently the main damage dealer, it needed to continue sharpening its attack strength. It also needed to increase its meat level appropriately. The prerequisite for damage output was survival. Flaming Cloud Crow has the Flaming Feather stance, but its flames are too ordinary. If it can nurture special flames, its battle power will definitely increase greatly. As far as Su Hao knew, There were two ways to nurture special flames. The first was to cultivate in a special place and absorb flames. Over time, it could improve the quality of its flames. The second type. They would have to acquire precious fire seeds and fuse them with their sprites. I have to use the credits sparingly now. The second option is a pass, the first option shall be reserved. I'll pick a cultivation environment later and see if I can trigger the corresponding cultivation plan. Last was the water unicorn beast. Su Hao looked over. In order to let it evolve faster, the water unicorn beast currently didn't have any special cultivation directions. Its battle power was only slightly stronger than ordinary entry-level sprites. He could consider making arrangements for it now. Su Hao flipped through the cultivation plans of the water unicorn beast in his mind. It belonged to a comprehensive development type. My previous plan was to cultivate it into a close combat meat shield. That wasn't impossible. But in the combat test, if it weren't for the water unicorn beast, even if Reverie Butterfly and Flaming Cloud Crow were very strong, Su Hao have had it so easy. During those 2 days, apart from resting time, he basically rode on the water unicorn beast the whole time. Since it's designated as a mount, it's not very suitable to cultivate it in the direction of the meat shield. An image surfaced in Su Hao's mind. When facing enemies, the water unicorn beast let out a cry, "I'll block it." Then, it carried him up and faced the enemy's sandbag-sized fist head-on. The scene was too beautiful. It was unimaginable. The most important factor for a mount is that it can run. It can run fast enough. Even the new student's enrollment manual mentioned that there must be a sprite that could be ridden on. Those with conditions would make the choice of a flying mount better. The developmental direction suggested to the freshmen in the manual had never prioritized battle power. Rather, it was their life-saving ability. Therefore, Su Hao chose 2 high-level unique skills for the water unicorn beast first. Cloud Steps. Water Path. Cloud Steps was a universal unique skill, suitable for sprites with feet. It was said that sprites in the form of spiders were the best at performing this unique skill. When sprites used cloud steps, they could create afterimages. Its speed and agility would both improve significantly. When the unique skill cloud steps was trained to a high level, it could even temporarily step on air. Combined with the water unicorn beast's natural ability to step on air, it was double the joy. Water Path allowed the water unicorn beast to leave a water path wherever it passed. Mist filled the path. Unique skills could only slightly increase a sprite's speed, but they could restrict the enemy. As the old saying goes, speed is relative. As long as I cause the enemy to run slow enough, it wouldn't be able to catch up to me. Not only that, the water path can also provide the sprite with the home field enhancement effect. As the pursued party, it can also use the water path to complement other water element unique skills to complete the counterattack. Cloud Step and Water Path were both high-level unique skills. It couldn't be found on the internet. Usually, Su Hao could only buy it at the Union's shopping center to unlock the advanced edition. But we're already students of Whale Island University. We don't fancy the Union's shopping center anymore. He opened the manual. He saw the introduction of the school library. One of them specialized in recording unique skills and profound meanings. It was more comprehensive than the Union's shopping center. After all, the Union's shopping center faced the masses. As long as Sprite trainers had money, anyone could buy them. Sprite University's students were their real sons and direct descendants. Besides, the unique skill and profound meaning of the library is considered an ordinary item. The cost of borrowing it is much cheaper than the Union's shopping center. The ones that were truly expensive and required credits were consulting instructors, or hiring others to teach them one-on-one until the sprites fully learned. Su Hao left the water unicorn beast and flaming cloud crow at the villa. He only brought Reverie Butterfly to the library. You have to look at the training methods of unique skills more to guide the flaming cloud crow and water unicorn beast, so you can guide them, understand? Gurgle. Did you forget what you promised when you took your phone? Gurgle, O degree omega degree O. Reverie Butterfly used its unique skill, its cuteness, to smoke through. The unique skill was ineffective. Reverie Butterfly fell to the ground. Gurgle, OTT, corpse. Of course, Su Hao wasn't a demon. He was just saying. He didn't plan on letting Reverie Butterfly supervise the training of Flaming Cloud Crow and the others. After all, he had also prepared training tasks for Reverie Butterfly. There was no more time. At the entrance of Lakeview Court, when Su Hao walked out, he actually bumped into the same batch student in white again. When the two met, their footsteps paused for a moment, and their gazes met. The Reverie Butterfly on his head and the Ice Six Tails on his shoulder were similarly staring at each other. The atmosphere was solemn. Sparks seemed to be crackling in the air. After a long time, the boy in white snorted. "You're pretty good, but I'll be the winner." Su Hao spread his hands. "Good luck to you, whatever." Whale Island University sent out a certain number of recommendation letters every year. The higher UPS had used special anti-counterfeiting methods, so it was easily recognizable. But there was also a difference between each recommendation letter. Like who sent it out? This letter was actually given by Heavenly King Xia. He wanted to pass this to Heavenly King Wu. An instructor brought a recommendation letter and personally delivered it to Heavenly King Wu. Heavenly King Wu, full name Wu Qazi, was titled Heavenly King of the Woods. He was also one of the 8 Heavenly Kings of Whale Island University. The higher up with real power. He received this recommendation letter and was surprised. That rascal old Xia actually gave out a recommendation letter. As the president of Tianese province, Heavenly King Xia had a lot of recommendation letters in his hands. There were very few that he actually sent out. Relationships? Not many people could move the Heavenly King Xia. He couldn't be bothered to recommend ordinary top students. He specially gave me the recommendation letters so that I can take more care of this new student. Let me see who exactly can get the recommendation letter from old Xia. Heavenly King Wu opened the envelope and slowly took out the letter inside. Chapter 140, The Long-Awaited Ding Dong. 5 minutes ago, Heavenly King Wu didn't attach much importance to the recommendation letter. Heavenly King didn't give out many. But over the years, there were a few. As a close friend of Heavenly King Xia, recommendation letters were usually sent directly to him. Heavenly King Wu would naturally give face to his good friend. Giving that student some convenience was a piece of cake for a Heavenly King. But that was all. It was impossible for him to teach him personally just because of a good word from Heavenly King Xia. How busy was Heavenly King of the Woods? He didn't have the time to mentor any students. At most, he would be handed over to be mentored by an experienced first-level mentor. 2 minutes ago, Heavenly King Wu read most of the letter and nodded slightly. Outstanding and humble students could always make one think positively of them. If this Su Hao is really as old Xia said, then there was nothing wrong with taking him in as his student. To be able to teach an outstanding sprite trainer, he would also have a lot of face in front of his many old friends. At this point, whoa! He actually came from an ordinary family. The difference between ordinary families and sprite cultivator families was too great. It wasn't like ordinary families did not have anyone strong. Among the Heavenly Kings born in recent years, there were quite a few who came from ordinary backgrounds. But it was only when they reached the university stage and used the resources of universities that they gradually revealed their talents. During the high school and college entrance examination, Wu Qazi had to admit that students with backgrounds had a huge advantage. This Su Hao has achieved so much with his own hard work. Now that he's at Whale Island University, how impressive! He definitely has the disposition of a Heavenly King. Not those sprite trainers who had a chance of becoming Heavenly King level. Who among the first-level instructors of Whale Island University didn't have the possibility of stepping into the Heavenly King tier? But many people's trump cards were still stuck at pseudo-monarch rank after so many years. No matter what they tried, they just couldn't get past it. They were also in despair. I didn't expect that old Xia would actually introduce such an excellent student to me. Not bad, not bad. I can tell at a glance that he's fated with me. It's a pity that it's not time for school to start yet. I can't accept students yet. According to the rules. After the freshman challenge segment, the instructors would actively seek out. No, the instructors would extend an olive branch. If two instructors valued a student at the same time, the student would have the right to choose. He could choose to follow one of the instructors. Heavenly King Wu touched his shiny and thick hair and pondered. With Su Hao's strength, there will definitely be quite a lot of first-level instructors who will take a fancy to him, but not necessarily Heavenly King level. When the time comes, I, the dignified Heavenly King professor, will personally recruit him. Those instructors would not be able to compete. It's clear at a glance who Su Hao chooses. It's stable. No. I still have to be more cautious. Heavenly King Wu then thought, what if another Heavenly King also took a fancy to Su Hao? Then the probability of him being chosen was only 50%. It wasn't safe enough. He thought about it and suddenly had an idea. Perhaps, I can. Whale Island University, Sprite Library. Su Hao stood in front of this grand and spectacular building. He paused for a moment before walking in. He took out his temporary student card, beep, and stepped in. This library had a total of 5 floors. The first and second levels recorded the ordinary unique skills of each element. For example, the most basic charging, the slightly more complicated granule machine gun, and the more advanced energy ball. Here, they were all categorized as ordinary unique skills. He could read it for free. On the third level, advanced unique skills of each element were recorded. Cloud Step and Water Path were both on the third level. This level's unique skill cost more, but it was also cheaper than the outside world. The fourth level recorded the profound meanings created by Master level and Heavenly King level sprite trainers. It wasn't expensive either. However, it was very difficult to understand profound meanings just by observing books and videos. He still had to consult an instructor. As for the fifth level, it held the secret manual. It could be understood as the inherited secret manuals of a certain sect, systematic battle methods, powerful and special killer moves, and so on. Secret arts were often formed by combining multiple improved unique skills and profound meanings. Su Hao wasn't in a hurry to go to the third level. He first walked around the first level. It was free. It would be a waste not to look. He came to a rack more than 2 meters tall. As far as the eye could see, it was filled with training books for charging. It wasn't the same. There were more than 100 versions. Charging training methods for sprites of different forms and attributes, and many improved charging methods. He saw that one of them was actually a charging mainly designed for the silkworm baby. He took it out and flipped through it. Impressive, it's only a little bit more than what the interface unlocked. On the side of the charging bookshelf was a display screen. Su Hao reached out and tapped. He saw a video related to the training book. There was even a sprite trainer explaining. It was very detailed. If an ordinary student originally arranged training for his sprite, it would take half a month to learn a basic unique skill. With the detailed tutorials in the library, he could master it in a week. Any shorter would depend on the sprite trainer's comprehension ability. Therefore, culture was very important. If sprite trainers couldn't understand the tutorials of unique skills, how were they supposed to teach them to sprites? Were they supposed to let sprites learn on their own? Well. Su Hao glanced at Reverie Butterfly, which was also reading. It seemed, probably, like, not a big problem. These detailed tutorials are also helpful to me. What Su Hao unlocked was the perfect plan. But the cost of crude to perfect and advanced to perfect was definitely different. Furthermore, ding! It had been a long time since he heard such a beautiful prompt. It was useless to read the charging tutorials, but he had seen too many unique skills that he had never come into contact with before. Intelligence points +1. Su Hao was touched. If intelligence points didn't come soon, he wouldn't be able to open the pot anymore. Raising 3 sprites was that difficult. Su Hao was immersed in the prompt of the increase in intelligence points and couldn't help himself. He went from the wood element unique skill area to fire element, then water element, and then to other elements. He had even forgotten his original purpose. At the villa, the sky gradually darkened. The water unicorn beast on the treadmill snored weakly. It was asking the flaming cloud crow. Why hasn't Su Hao returned yet? Flaming cloud crow tilted its head. It indicated that it was also mealtime. But it didn't panic. As long as one stared blankly at the wall, their hunger would be blocked outside the door. This is it. Nay. The water unicorn beast jumped off the treadmill and laid flat on the ground. Its lifeless eyes stared at the wall. It stared, then moved to the window and looked at the sky. Come back quickly. Unicorn would definitely train hard. In the library, a middle-aged man with thick, dark, and glossy hair held a training book in his hand, his mind wandering. Strange, wasn't he still here just now? I've already chased after 5 unique skill areas. Is it that difficult to meet him by chance? The middle-aged man scratched his thick hair to calm himself down. There's no rush. There's still a long time before school starts. I still have a chance to familiarize myself. On the first floor of the library, with a huge knowledge bank and genius brain working speed, Su Hao had briefly flipped through the basic and elementary unique skill training books. In just a moment, he had roughly mastered the contents of the book. I can't continue to provide intelligence. Looks like I have to go to the next area. He put the book back on the shelf. Suddenly, he sneezed. He took a look and realized that it was already so late. Then, let's go to the 3rd floor and buy the 2 unique skills first.